Bonsoir et bienvenue au conseil du 15 mars 2021. Welcome everybody to the mid-month council meeting of March 15th, 2021. Just a few short updates, I think, as everybody has seen, and hopefully everybody knows people that have begun getting their vaccines, my parents, my mother-in-law. I think it's given a great amount of hope to our community as we see it roll out. The closest sites, obviously, for our citizens are the Glen and the Montreal General. And again, if you know of someone who is having trouble, a senior who is having trouble registering online, please let us know. I know Public Security has been reaching out to many of our seniors to make sure that they have all the tools necessary to make sure that they get the vaccine. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we can let our guard down. So we have to continue to adhere to the public health measures, but we have seen some changes in that the WRC is going to remain open for our ice skating. So I'm sure Councillor Gallery will have a few updates on that. So I think with spring coming, everybody feels a great sense of optimism when it comes to the vaccine rollout. So those are my main updates. And so this is our mid-month meeting. And then again, we have a demolition hearing, which is also, citizens can log on to, but that starts at 6:30. So I would turn it over to Councillor Cutler, who has some updates on some large projects that are getting moved tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I'm moving a few items, most of which are quite boring, though very, very important for our infrastructure. There's one I do want to highlight, and that's the road reconstruction of Sunnyside, which is a $4.2 million project that was delayed last year as a result of COVID, and we are getting it done this summer. And it's a big project. It's long overdue. We're excited to be moving forward with this. So you'll see that I'll be moving that later, along with a few other contracts.
Thank you. And now we move to Councillor Gallery, who I think has an update.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I have a few quick updates. I'll start with Sports and Rec. Tomorrow, our online registration starts for our spring programming. For now, most of it is still online, but with the new government regulations that were announced last Friday, we're looking what we're able to offer indoors and outdoors with a controlled number of participants for non-contact sports. So please stay tuned. We're working on that right now, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And always check our websites and our email. We'll be updating you as things change, and we can expand our offering. With regard to our events, we have a really exciting event tomorrow night with Danielle Sauvageau. Hopefully you have registered with Eventbrite. She'll be talking about the importance of being active and how important it is for your well-being. We have Fireside Chat again with Mitch Joel. We're talking with Nick Farkas, the SVP booking concerts at Evenco. We have, of course, McIntyre deadline coming up April 1st. So remember the theme, think big, start small, and please get your submissions in by April 1st. And we have a blues and country music concert the end of the month on Saturday, March 27th, called Fieldstone Reverie. Don't miss that. So there's lots going on. We also have a call for submissions for our outdoor concerts, for our concerts in the park and the pop-up concerts. So look online if you're interested and play music. We'd love to have you. Obviously, this is dependent on public health regulations. So please look at our online programming and sign up. And lastly, we have free Zoom classes for everyone for next week, March 22nd. Come see what we have to offer. There's something for everyone, and stay active and enjoy the spring weather. So thanks.
Thank you. And the Danielle Sauvageau event tomorrow night is going to be excellent. And we've done a couple of these in the past couple of years that focused on health and mental health. And it's amazing that she's bringing both together, and her experience of leading Olympic team, or the women's hockey team is going to be, she's a phenomenal public speaker. So I hope lots of people are able to join that. So thank you for the update on that, Councillor Gallery. Councillor Wellham, I think, has an update.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. So regarding the revitalization and restoration of Westmount Park, I want, obviously, COVID restrictions are having, creating restrictions on our consultation and outreach programs. We met with Stantec last week. They are compiling the survey results, comments, and the questions into a report. We are looking at amending the timeline to accommodate more outreach and consultation. I want to thank you for your patience, and I want to assure you that your comments and your concerns will be addressed, and I will have much more at our April 1st or whatever date it is, but our April council meeting, our main council meeting, the next one, which I think will reassure a lot of people. And there you go. I thank you for those who have taken an enormous amount of time to write and to contact. And yes, we are aware of your concerns.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And we look forward to an update on that. And if there are comments or questions on Westmount Park, that they have to come through the city, our city emails is the best way to submit those. For them
I would just add, Mayor Smith, that all the documents pertaining to the Westmount Park, all the surveys that have been done, all the in-person consultations and the like, preliminary plans and the like, are all available on the city's website. And so I welcome people to have a look at those documents. I think you'll find many of them do answer your questions.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that's it for reports from council. So now we will move to la première période de questions. Le greffier.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we received a few questions today for our first question period. Our first question is from Matthew Bean, and this question is as follows. Can we start to give moving violations for vehicles traveling around Victoria Avenue and Sherbrooke? The streets around Victoria Village are dangerous for pedestrians as speeders cut through those neighborhoods, disregarding stop signs and speed limits. There only seems to be Westmount security giving parking tickets, yet nothing is done to protect the residents from drivers actually putting the residents in harm's way. I've lived on Somerville for 4 years now, and I haven't seen one moving violation ticket occur, yet have seen thousands of cars speeding and blowing through stop signs. I've been hit twice by vehicles while crossing Victoria Avenue at Somerville, for example. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Bean. I think probably a couple people would like to weigh in on this. First off, our public security officers are not able to give moving violations, but the SPVM are able to do that. And we will relay this message and this question to them. We've done a few initiatives in the area in terms of some light up stop signs, things like that. We've had bollards, we've had them, come and go. We've had planters. So I thank you for your feedback, and we will relay it to the SPVM. But I will. I think Councillor Breshke wants to update on that as well as maybe Councillor Cutler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, so to comment, we have done, first of all, pedestrian safety is first and foremost in this sector, Somerville and Victoria Village. And thank you for raising this. We have done, as the Mayor has mentioned, a few actions to try to render the area safer for pedestrians with the flashing stop sign that was installed recently. We've also had local traffic signs that were successful during the COVID period, and planters in the season. I think this time is a bit precarious, but soon we'll be doing the line paintings, and there's going to be a refresh of the intersection on Somerville, particularly in Victoria, which should improve things, and planters. We've had discussions at TAC with regards to the safety of the general area, and residents' comments about it and suggestions have been addressed and looked at and examined. And so we are continuing to keep an eye out for this area and see how we can improve it further. So I thank you very much for the feedback and the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Breshke. I don't know if Councillor Cutler wants to weigh in, but one of the things that has been done recently, which I don't know if citizens fully understand, is the reason why there is no parking for the block on Victoria in front of the Metro is so that trucks do not have to circulate in that neighborhood and to cause further frustration with residents and have more, especially heavy trucks. So we get questions sometimes, why is this blocked off for trucks to keep them out of our residential neighborhood, because there is no, that obviously everybody knows the parking lot situation at Metro is subpar at best. So that is another initiative we have done. It hasn't made the situation perfect, but we will continue to look at it, especially at the TAC in terms of other initiatives because pedestrian safety, absolutely, especially in that neighborhood, or all neighborhoods, obviously, but that is obviously a high traffic pedestrian area. Councillor Cutler, did you want to, or Councillor Bostock want to say anything on this one?
I mean, happy to just add. It's a fair question to ask. There's no question that intersection, which I frequent very often, can be considered dangerous for sure. And we definitely looked at it. I think the new stop sign is a step in the right direction. We added ballers last summer, which moved around a bit, and so we're looking at it in terms of the actual moving violations. That isn't something that Westmount Security has jurisdiction over, unfortunately. Though we do speak with the SPVM frequently, and this has been an item we've brought to the SPVM in the past. I'm not sure if we have any numbers or anything on campaigns that they've run there, if they have even, to be perfectly honest, but it's definitely on everybody's radar. And I think it's an area that we can improve, right? It's an area from a commercial perspective that we want to make very pedestrian friendly and make it comfortable for people to be walking around there, because our merchants are depending on that. And we don't want people, getting hit or even risking, close calls, right? And so comments are well heard, and happy to bring this to TAC and see what more we can do.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I totally agree with you. This is an important issue for this area. Councillor Bostock?
I was going to say, I think it's a good opportunity for us to do a safety campaign in the area. It's a friendly reminder that people who go to Metro are Westmount residents and they're people from the neighborhood, and we as drivers in our community need to be mindful of when we're in our vehicles that there are people walking in the neighborhood. And so I think much like we did the back to school safety campaign, this might be a really interesting opportunity to do remember that cyclists and pedestrians are going to be out in public, and reminding people that stop signs are important, not there just for suggestions. So it's definitely something that we can look at.
Okay, all right, thank you. Next question. Prochaine question.
Thank you. Our next question is from Richard Locke. And his question is as follows. I realize that the question of parking on Lansdowne Avenue is a complicated one involving several city departments, but spring is coming and the bikes will be running. It would be lovely if a clear, safe, and connected bike path could be marked out in time for the fine weather, which I am reliably informed is just around the corner. Can council give an approximate date for the decision? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, and thank you for your hope that spring is right around the corner. I'll leave it to the TAC members on the timeline for that. Perhaps Councillor Breshke could comment on the expected timeline for the decision on parking on Lansdowne.
From our last meeting, I think we were looking at having a decision before the line painting begins, actually, so that would be April. Okay. As far as a specific date, we will learn more about it at tomorrow's TAC meeting.
Okay, thank you. And we'll certainly be in touch with Mr. Locke and all of the people who have written and shared concerns about the Lansdowne parking decision. Thank you. And in terms of the line painting, weather dependent, we're expecting that to happen to begin mid-April. Next question.
Thank you. Our next question is from Ross Brown. And his question is, reducing our carbon footprint is essential to limit global heating and the associated massive impacts on our planet. The mayor made a commitment during the climate change march in September 2019 to accelerate efforts to reduce carbon emissions. Does the city have a concrete plan in place to reduce carbon emissions and eventually reach a goal of carbon neutrality, for example, in the Imagine Westmount 2040 process? Note that the town of Shefford recently became the first municipality in Quebec to be awarded carbon neutral certification, so why not Westmount?
That's a very good question. It is, and yes, it will definitely be part of our discussions and public consultations as we go forward with 2040. And Councillor Brushke, do you have any further items you want to add to this? I mean, we have many small initiatives that are adding up. Is how I would look at this. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's a timely question, given the process of the Imagine 2040. And it makes a lot of sense to look at that within that process of Imagine 2040. I know residents in the past have given recommendations on tweaking this bylaw or the other bylaw, but when it's done comprehensively through the Imagine 2040 process, it will make good sense. And the timing of the suggestion question is great. Yes, definitely sustainability and environment will be part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Next question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next question is from Dennis Bureau. And his question is as follows. The responses from council to my question on March 1st regarding the setting up of a loading zone at National included, I quote, "The zone has been set up. It was set up quite a while ago. It's a safe option." Notably, the responses did not identify the location of the zone. I have taken a close look and can see no evidence of a loading zone for grocery pickup. I have also spoken with the owners at National. They told me that they are not aware of any zone having been set up. Neither have they had contact with any Westmount employee about the location of a new zone. There appears to be a serious disconnect here. It's now been 7 months since the TAC recommendation. Once again, when will the loading zone at National be set up? Thank you for your help.
Thank you, Mr. Bureau, for your question. When I had answered that question, I had thought it had been set up because it had been approved by the TAC. And so that zone had been approved, but apparently the signage had not gone up. So that is going to be, they are working on fixing that solution, and it will be closer to the Claremont side of things. And it is it's a drop-off zone. I believe it's a 15-minute parking. National has a lot of food service delivery people that come and go, as well as customers. So it will be at that end is what I understand in terms of being the safest option for National. So not far away, but not directly in front of the store. Anyone else want to add to that? So I apologize for the confusion for that. And thank you for following up.
Okay.
Next question.
Our next question is from Daniel Lambert of the Association of Pedestrians and Cyclists of Westmount. Sherbrooke Street remains a very hostile environment for residents who choose to travel by bike, with impatient drivers frequently honking, passing too close, or shouting at residents on bikes to get off the road. Numerous brave residents continue to cycle along Sherbrooke Street despite the risks, since it is the premier destination route in Westmount. However, the current hostile environment discriminates particularly against women who want to cycle, but do not because of the risk. To at least inform drivers that cyclists have the legal right to ride on Sherbrooke Street, will the city paint chevrons with bike symbols along the right-hand driving lanes?
Thanks for your question, Mr. Lambert, about, and especially it's very timely as we get to spring and we'll see a lot more bikers out, not just as he noted on the Maisonneuve bike path, but all throughout the city. And as we hope are, especially for initiatives like Bixie and the ridership of that increasing, it's a good recommendation. It's, I mean, we'll look at how that could be integrated on Sherbrooke Street, and an awareness campaign of making sure that that drivers have bike safety as top of mind always. I don't know, does anyone else want to weigh in on this? Can I send this over to Councillor Cutler to bring to the TAC agenda as a suggestion from Mr. Lambert?
Yeah, I'm happy to bring that up, and Dan, I would even say, Sherbrooke's a good example, but there may be even other streets under policy that we can look at and say, if there's a certain amount of traffic or something like that, these would require chevrons with bicycles. I don't know what that would look like specifically, but I do think that it merits at least a discussion around whether or not we have a policy for that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Next question.
So we have a second question from Daniel Lambert. And his second question is, at the January 18th council meeting, we noted that many pedestrians and joggers use the de Maisonneuve sidewalks, bike path, and driving lane to socially distance when out for exercise or on their way to Green Avenue, Alexis Neon, or downtown. This includes many vulnerable residents with canes, walkers, and wheelchairs. Since the Maisonneuve will be closed for water pipe repairs this summer between Melville and Clark, we suggested providing an alternative corridor along the south side of Sherbrooke by removing a driving lane or a parking lane. Council said it would consider how best to fulfill this important physical and mental health need in our community. Has the city decided on an alternative pedestrian route? Also, when will repair work begin and end?
So I think there's a couple things on that one, in that we are keeping at Atwater, that will stay closed for pedestrians from what I understand. So that is good news on that front, but we have not, there is no definitive decision in terms of the Sherbrooke Street recommendation at this point. And I don't know, do we have a date? I'll certainly ask the administration for the start of the work on de Maisonneuve. I would assume is probably, because it's Montreal doing the work, I would assume it's sometime in May. Do we have a confirmed date? Does anyone know what that date is, or can no?
Mayor Smith, I do not have a date, but I'll let everyone know. We'll check with City of Montreal.
Okay, perfect.
We may even have it. I'll ask Elisa if maybe she has a date, and I'll report back at some time during this meeting if possible. Directly
to Dan. Okay, thank you. But yeah, we're very sensitive to the fact that the ability for people to spread out, especially on sidewalks right now, and then to have construction along one of our busiest pedestrian corridors is definitely going to be a challenge. Anyone else want to weigh in on that? No? Okay. Thank you. Next question.
Our next and last question for our first question period is from Susan Grundy. And her question is, in view of Council's resolution declaring a climate crisis, would you consider forming a Westmount Environmental Advisory Committee, similar to other municipalities, including Beaconsfield? My experience with the Westmount Healthy City Project and the Waste Management Committee has shown me the limitation of volunteer citizen effort when they are not aligned with city priorities and planning. A formal structure led by the city with resident representation would go much further towards addressing environmental issues in Westmount. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grundy. And I know Ms. Grundy's done a lot of work in the past on the Healthy Active Cities Committee, and she's contributed enormously, especially on composting suggestions and some work that she did there. So we thank you. It's a great idea. Councillor Breshke, do you have anything else you want to add to that? I think it's a very worthy suggestion.
Yeah, I want to welcome the suggestion, and I thank Ms. Grundy for raising it today. I think it's a great opportunity to speak more about it and see how it can be tied to very specific a specific mandate or goals. And climate change is a priority for municipal governments. So definitely would be interested in having a longer conversation to see how that would work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, so now we move avec l'adoption de l'ordre du jour. Le conseiller Breshke, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Alors, I move that the agenda of the regular council sitting of March 15, 2021 be adopted with a addition of under new business of item 24.1, tabling of minutes of correction.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shammy, all in favor? Carried. Confirmation of minutes. Again, Councillor Breshke.
I move that the minutes of the regular council sitting held on March 1st, 2021 be approved.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item 6.1, correspondence. There is no correspondence to be tabled. 6.2, Councillor Breshke.
The minutes of the general committee meeting of council held on February 1st and 15, 2021 are tabled and are available on the city's website.
Thank you very much. And item 6.3, le rapport d'activité de trésorier, Councillor Kez.
Oui, le rapport d'activité des trésors de 1er janvier au 31 décembre 2020 est déposé en vertu du chapitre 13 de la loi sur les élections et référendums dans les municipalités RLRQ chapitre E13 Union 2.2.
Merci beaucoup. Councillor Kez. Item number 7, modification of resolution number 2021-03-43, termination of employee number 01122. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas resolution number 2021-03-43 was adopted on the 1st of March 2021, and whereas in support of the decision made at the regular meeting of March 1st, a consideration should be added to further demonstrate the reasons for the dismissal, I move, Madam Mayor, that resolution 2021-03-43 be amended by adding the following consideration after the first paragraph. Quote, whereas the employee's actions constitute a serious theft of time, close quote.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shammy. Any to second that motion would be Councillor Lulham. Thank you. Any further comments? No. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item number 8, notice of motion bylaw 1569 to amend bylaw 1530 entitled Règlement concernant le régime de retraite pour les fonctionnaires et les employés de la ville de Westmount, refonte au 1er janvier 2014. Le conseiller Kez.
Yeah, I give notice of the intention to submit for adoption at a subsequent meeting of council bylaw number 1569 entitled Règlement visant à modifier le règlement 1530 intitulé Règlement concernant le régime de la retraite pour les fonctionnaires, les employés de la ville de Westmount, refonte au 1er janvier 2014. The object of this bylaw is to amend the provision that applies to improvements of the benefit of the plan from the surpluses in the event of a plan termination for the previous component. A copy of the draft bylaw is tabled and available for public consultation.
Thank you very much. Item number 9, agreement regarding contracts for cryptographic use applied to blockchains. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas the city of Westmount is a member of the Association des redistributeurs d'électricité du Québec, whereas on June 14th, 2018, Hydro-Québec filed an application with the Régie de l'énergie for the setting of rates and conditions of service for cryptographic use, which is still under review by the Régie. And whereas part of the application to set the rates and conditions of service for cryptographic use, the Régie de l'énergie recommended that the AREC and Hydro-Québec enter into an agreement. And whereas the AREC and Hydro-Québec concluded an agreement in principle on June 2nd, 2020, and whereas a framework agreement between the AREC and Hydro-Québec was concluded on September 25th, 2020, in order to reflect in detail the terms and conditions of the agreement in principle, I move, Madam Mayor, that the terms and conditions of the agreement between the Association des redistributeurs d'électricité du Québec, AREC, and Hydro-Québec be approved, that the city agrees to conclude an individual agreement with Hydro-Québec, which will reflect the terms and conditions of the framework agreement between the AREC and Hydro-Québec. And finally, that the interim director general be authorized to sign for, and in the name of the city, the attached agreement, as well as all documents are required to give full effect to this resolution.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shammy. Seconder on this would be Councillor Breshke. Any further comments? None. All in favor? Carried. Item number 10, numéro 10, entente de partenariat pour le déploiement de bornes de recharge pour les véhicules électriques. Councillor Chamy, le conseiller Chamy.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Whereas on May 2nd, 2016, the City of Westmount entered into a partnership agreement with Hydro-Quebec for the deployment of charging stations for electric vehicles, Resolution 2016-0598. And whereas this agreement expired in 2020, and whereas the Director of Hydro Westmount recommends that the city enter into a new partnership agreement with Hydro-Quebec for the deployment of charging stations for electric vehicles, 240 volts, for a period of 5 years, I move, Madam Mayor, that the partnership agreement for the deployment of charging stations for 240 volts for electric vehicles in the City of Westmount be entered into with Hydro-Quebec, and that the interim Director General be authorized to sign for and in the name of the city the attached partnership agreement and any other documents required to give full effect to this resolution.
Merci beaucoup. I'm sure Councillor Breshke would like to second that. So Councillor Breshke is seconding. Any further comments on this? No, it's good news. Thank you. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item number 11, numéro 11, l'approbation des subventions aux organismes sans but lucratif en 2021. Councillor Gallery, the grants for non-profit community organizations.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas pursuant to sections 4 and 90 of the Municipal Powers Act, CQLR C-47.1, a municipality may, with respect to culture, recreation, activities and parks, grant any assistance it considers appropriate. Whereas according to the city's policies for recreation and cultural grants, all applications for 2021 supporting grants received from local community groups and organizations have been reviewed by the administration in accordance with the city's policies on financial support for recreation and culture. Whereas the General Committee of Council has reviewed the applications from local nonprofit organizations. And whereas the interim Director General and the Director of Library and Community Events recommend that the said applications be approved. I move that the grants offered by the City of Westmount for the year 2021 totaling $130,500 be approved as follows. Atwater Library, a grant of $25,560 to help finance its programming. Green Avenue Community Center, Centre Green, a grant of $10,000 to help finance its programming. Centre Contactivité, Inc., a grant of $75,000 to help finance its programming. Visual Arts Center, a grant of $4,823 for services provided to the city. Westmount Historical Association, a grant of $3,375 to help finance its programming. And finally, the YMCA's of Quebec, Westmount, a grant of $11,742 for programs provided to the city and the community at large. That the expenditure be allocated according to the financial information described in the decision-making file number 2021-1193.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the update on that. And we know that this has been a very strange year and continues to be since last March in terms of the programming that's offered. And these grants are for programming with different community groups or not-for-profits that offer programming that the city does not, and to Westmount residents. So they do important work in our community, and I know many of them are very anxious to get back to their regular programming and to offer the services that they have so many citizens have become dependent on. So thank you for the update on that. Who would any further comments on Councillor Gallery?
No, like you said, we're delighted to give out the funds, and I know these groups are waiting and working really hard in these very challenging times.
Yeah, thank you. Who would like to second that? Councillor Bostock. All in favor? Carried. Now for Councillor Cutler, who are already given some details about this, but one of the larger road projects that we're going to be doing, item number 12, for the reconstruction of, call for public tenders for the reconstruction of Sunnyside between Upper Bellevue and Belvedere.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $4,254,578.61, including tax credits for the reconstruction of Sunnyside Avenue between Upper Bellevue Avenue and Belvedere Road, tender number PUB 2021-001, and to award Les Excavations Super Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $4,659,318.25, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders PUB 2021-001, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2021-1204.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Cutler. Who would like to second this? Councillor Bostock is the councillor for the district. This will be a big project. It will be at times challenging to live on the street. It is inconvenient to have your street reconstructed, but the benefits afterwards will be worth it. Do you have any other comments on this, Councillor Cutler?
This is a road that's definitely overdue for this, and we did receive good consultation from the residents in the area as well, who helped us make some decisions with regards to parking, directionality, and so on. So there's been good input from the area, and we're very appreciative for the engaged citizens.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would look at Sunnyside and not see it as a road worthy of reconstruction at this point.
No,
so,
would have loved to do it last year, but here we are.
Yeah. All right, all in favor? Carried. Item number 13, numéro 13. Again, Councillor Cutler, appel d'offres public, réhabilitation des conduits d'égout par gainage structurel dans la ville de Westmount. Lining of the structural lining of the city of Westmount.
Mayor, I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $208,925.13, including tax credits for the sewer rehabilitation by structural lining in the city of Westmount, tender number PUB 2021-004, and to award Instituform Technologie Limited the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $228,800.25, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents, the call for tenders PUB 2021-004, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2021-1194.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for this? Councillor Shammy, any further comments on this?
Not as sexy as full road reconstruction, but I assure you, very important.
Perfect. All in favor? Carried. Item number 14, Councillor Gallery, appel d'offres public, entretien des plateaux sportifs dans la ville de Westmount. Maintenance of playing fields in the city of Westmount.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $79,722.13, including tax credits for maintenance of playing fields in the city of Westmount, tender number PUB 2021-005, to award to 9032-2454 Quebec Inc., Technipark, the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $87,306.13, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders PUB 2021-005. To allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2021-1198.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Lulham, any further comments?
Just our annual budget to get the fields ready for our parks and soccer and programming. So it's great.
Perfect. Good news. All in favor? Carried. Item number 15, staying with parks, call for public tenders, maintenance of parks and green spaces in the city of Westmount. Councillor Lulham.
I move to authorize the expenditure in the amount of $215,972.83, including tax credits for the 2021 fiscal year for the maintenance of parks and green spaces in the city of Westmount. Option number 2, tender number PUB 2021-018, to award to NCR Landscaping, Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $723,840.95, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents for the call for tenders PUB 2021-108, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2021-1180.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm not sure why I'm echoing. Who would like to second that? Councillor Breschke.
I have some comments.
Comments.
So the city contracts out the maintenance of parks and green spaces throughout the city. This contract includes labor, equipment, and supervision required to maintain the parks and green spaces that were identified and located within the city. The work will take place from April to November. In the past year, the supply of plants was included in this contract, but for the 2021 season, the supply of plants is combined with the plant order for the horticultural team that was done in a separate contract in February.
Okay, thank you for that context. All in favor? Carried. Now moving to item 16, call for public tender supply of playground equipment for Somerville Tot Lot. Again, Councillor Lulham.
I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $85,249.85, including tax credits, for the supply of playground equipment for the Somerville Tot Lot, tender number PUB 2021-019, to award to Atmosphere Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $93,359.70, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders PUB 2021-019, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file 2021-1196.
Thank you for that. Councillor Breschke, I'm sure would like to second that motion. Any further details? My favorite little tot lot in the city.
It's a wonderful little park and it needed some love. So we're very excited. This contract is for the supply and installation of new playground equipment intended for ages 18 months to 5 years old in the Somerville Tot Lot. The equipment proposed is constructed from all-natural Robinia wood, which is a sturdy hardwood that is indigenous to Quebec. The play area will consist of a total of 25 activities divided amongst all the included equipment. The equipment proposed is intended to meet the various developmental and physical needs of users aged 18 months to 5 years. The equipment also exceeds the ADA, the American Disability Act, for accessibility, which is the national standard. The surfacing will be in wood bar, which is considered an accessible surface. And just to mention that we will have a separate contract. This is for the equipment. There will be a separate contract for the landscaping for the Somerville Tot Lot. We're going to re-landscape, put in new bushes and pathways and some trees and the like.
Excellent. Perfect. Any further comments? That covers it.
I think
all in favor? Carried. Item number 17, again, Councillor Cutler, contract renewal cleaning of catch basins in the city of Westmount.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize the renewal of the contract awarded as part of the call for public tenders PW 2019-1036 resolution number 2019-07149 to Tech Vac Environnement Inc. for the cleaning of the catch basins in the city of Westmount for the period from April 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020 for a maximum amount of 2021, my apologies, for a period. So let me reread this.
Okay.
It looks like there was a typo. Anyway, Mayor, I move to authorize the renewal of the contract awarded as part of the call for tenders PW 2019-1036 resolution number 2019-07149 to Tech Vac Environnement Inc. for the cleaning of catch basins in the city of Westmount for a period of April 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021 for a maximum amount of $90,689.98, including taxes, and to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $82,812.04, including tax credits for the purpose of this contract the whole in conformity with contractual documents of the call for tenders PW 2019-1036 and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file 2021-1195.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder on this catch basins? Councillor Shammy, any further comments?
So in this particular contract, we have the option to renew built into it, so that we're taking advantage of that.
Okay, excellent. All in favor? Carried. Item 18, again, Councillor Cutler, call for tenders by invitation, cancellation of the call for tenders by invitation.
Mayor, I move that the only tender submitted as a result of the call for tenders by invitation bearing number INV-2021-001 for the contract for emergency agricultural work be rejected on the basis that the price is too high.
Thank you. A seconder on this would be Councillor Shammy or Councillor Lulham. Any further comments? Standard too high? All good. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Item number 19, numéro 19, le conseiller Shammy, acquisition des compteurs et modules ERT de ITRON.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $105,790.40, including tax credits for the purchase of ERT meters from Itron, and to award the contract to Les Distributeurs JF Tech Inc. in the amount of $121,632.51, including all applicable taxes for the purchase of ERT meters from Itron, being in conformity with the contractual documents and the notice of intention. And finally, Madam Mayor, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information, including in the decision-making file 2021-1184.
Thank you. A seconder on this will be Councillor Breshke. Any further comments? No? All in favor? Carried. Item number 20, numéro 20, modification de contrat achat de 1700 mètres de câble 350 MCM 3C XLPE pour les travaux sur l'avenue Westmount. Appel d'offres. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the contract awarded to Lumen Division de Sonepar Canada Inc. for the purchase of 1,700 meters of 350 MCM 3C XLPE cables for the work on Westmount Avenue for a maximum amount of $271,902.72, all taxes included. Resolution 2021-0339 be modified and increased to a maximum amount of $290,411.68, all taxes included, and that this additional expenditure be authorized in the amount of $18,508.96, all taxes included, for the purchase of 1,700 meters of 350 MCM 3C XLPE cables for the work on Westmount Avenue with Lumen Division de Sonepar Canada Inc. And finally, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2021-1181 and number 2021-1218.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this, Councillor Cutler. It's his district. All in any further comments? No? All in favor? Carried. Now we move to urban planning. Urban planning approval, item 21, approval under the bylaw on site planning and architectural integration programs. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Je propose que, selon les recommandations du comité consultatif d'urbanisme formulées lors de sa réunion tenue le 8 mars 2021, les demandes de permis de construction se trouvent à la liste ci-jointe, telles que révisées conformément au règlement 1305 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale, soit approuvées.
Merci beaucoup. L'appuyeur, c'est Madame Lulham. Est-ce qu'il y a plus de détails ou des...
Well, as these are mid-mount, these are mostly minor and consent files.
Okay. As the urban planning department gets busier for the height of its season coming up over the next couple of months. All in favor? Carried. Again, Councillor Peart, item 22, 2, urban planning approval under the bylaw on site planning and architectural integration programs, conditional approval of a permit application.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will read the whereases in this case. Whereas, according to bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, the issuance of some building permits are subordinate to the prior recommendations of plans by the Planning Advisory Committee. Whereas, according to section 3.2.2 of this bylaw, council must decide on the recommendations of the committee by way of resolution. Whereas the application meets the objectives and criteria of bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, whereas given the state of structural failure of the rear portion of the building, whereas in certain cases, in addition to part of the building may be considered if its architecture blends with the existing building so as not to unbalance the original composition and its characteristic elements, whereas the volume of the proposed addition harmonizes with the existing structure and the stylistic concept of the architecture, whereas the proposed addition is similar to the main volume in terms of the use of the stone, Adirondack sandstone, flat roof, roof openings, ornamentation, and application of a uniform architectural vocabulary that respects the original architecture, whereas the stone from the demolished section of the existing building will be reused in the proposed addition. I move that, according to the recommendations made by the Planning Advisory Committee at its meeting held on March 9th of 2021, the building permit application appearing on the attached table, reviewed under bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, be approved in accordance with the conditions stipulated in the attached table.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Lulham. Any further comments or details that you want to share on this file?
What I will share is that this has been a long-standing dossier under review and under development by the applicant. It's been, I won't hide it with anybody, it's been a little contentious and a little difficult at times, but we've now reached a proposal that I think we all find to be acceptable, and we look forward to its development and construction.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 23, again, Councillor Peart, urban planning approval under bylaw on site planning and architectural integration programs, denial of a permit application.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will read the whereases. Whereas, according to the bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, the issuance of some building permits are subordinate to the prior recommendation of plans by the Planning Advisory Committee. Whereas, according to section 3.2.2 of this bylaw, council must decide on the recommendations of the committee by way of resolution. Whereas the application does not meet the objectives and criteria of bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, whereas the copper flashing on the melon is not adequately justified, whereas the copper flashing will cause copper oxide stains on the stone facade, I move that, according to the recommendations made by the Planning Advisory Committee at its meeting held on March 9th of 2021, the building permit application appearing on the attached list, reviewed under bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, be denied.
Thank you. A seconder on this, Councillor Lulham, do you want to give further details on?
Sure. I will point out that I think we use the word melon, and melon, I believe, is the French translation for crenellations. Most people will not know what crenellations are. Those are the little teeth on top of our tower in stone. So a copper flashing was proposed. The PAC thought, the PAC recommended that the PAC gave an unfavorable recommendation, given that the copper would eventually oxidize and just discolor our newly restored stone facade. So this is a nice little example where we hold ourselves to the same high standards that we ask for our residents, and we denied our own permit. So
that'll bring delight to some citizens. So,
exactly.
Okay, well, thank you for the update on that. All in favor of the permit denial? Carried. And now we have one new item of business, 24.1. Councillor Breshke, are you moving that item or?
No,
Yes,
I
I
believe
am.
I am.
Sorry,
Oh, Councillor Kez, sorry.
Yeah.
actually for, sorry, it's actually for me to just mention that
Okay.
I'm tabling the minutes in accordance with section 92.1 of the Cities and Towns Act. I'm tabling the minutes of a correction to the resolution number 2021-0339, as well as a copy of the amended document. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now it's over to Councillor Kez.
Nope.
No? Oh, that's it?
Okay. If I may, Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Conformément à l'article 92.1 de la loi sur les cités et les villes, le greffier dépose le procès-verbal de correction portant sur la résolution numéro 2021-03-39 ainsi qu'une copie du document modifié.
Merci beaucoup. Puis c'est tout pour le greffier?
Oui, and now it would just be a matter
Est-ce
of.
qu'on a d'autres questions pour la deuxième période de questions?
On n'a pas reçu de questions pour notre deuxième période de questions.
Okay. Thank you. So I adjourn this meeting, and we are meant to be starting another meeting in 1 minute, but I think for anyone who is watching that was also going to attend the demolition hearing, we will need a couple minutes to start that meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Bonsoir.